Okay, here we are once again for the real actual speculations about Halloween Horror Nights 21. Now, I was talking about the house that will be located in Soundstage 22, and I was talking about the possibility that it might be the Thing house. Well, I've gone back to the Internet Movie Database in between making the previous video and this one, and there is no character named Sarah in the Thing. So I think that precludes this being the Thing. And of course, Sarah could be a code name for someone who is similar to someone else named Sarah, such as Sarah Connor from the Terminator. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be a Terminator house. No, I do not expect that at all. And I'm just saying that someone may remind people of Sarah Connor, or maybe connected similar to her in one way or another, and that might be what Sarah means, or Sarah could mean something else entirely. We don't know who Sarah is. Okay. I don't think it's a Thing house. It may be a house for chance. Possibly. Based on the widow thing. But other than that, we have no idea. Moving on to the Soundstage 23A. Now, in that house, we have 3 code names currently. We know that there are characters codenamed Impaled, Radio, and Redneck. Again, this could be a Thing house. Radio implies a radio operator. We know there should be a radio operator in an Antarctic base. So that could be it. Redneck is anyone from the south. Impaled suggests someone's dying in that way. Some have talked about Dracula. No, they've done Dracula many, many times, most recently 2009. I don't think that refers to Dracula. Okay, that's 23A. Okay, Soundstage 23B, again, very vague. We only know 2 names. Nurse and GM Victim. Now that's rather interesting. What does GM Victim mean? Gay male victim? Possibly. GM could stand for General Manager. Perhaps it's set in a hotel. That could be. Maybe the General Manager kills people and that's a GM Victim. Or perhaps, maybe most logical, GM immediately brings to mind a certain type of automobile, General Motors. A GM Victim could be someone who was in an automobile accident. That would fit in with Nurse. Perhaps this is set in an emergency ward or some other medical facility, in a hospital or a clinic of some sort. That's possible as well. Again, that's just based on these code names, which could be something completely different. Because they are trying, remember, these are red herrings deliberately designed to confuse us and draw us off the track. We must always consider that when dealing with code word names of this sort. Alright, Disaster Overflow Queue. This is something I know that because the facade has been seen. It has been seen, and we now know the facade for this house will be a row of houses on a city street. Now that's very intriguing. What does that mean? Again, very strange. I've heard one person claim that they saw what looked like a cave entranceway being built in the house. Now this is not where the facade would be or the exit, but somewhere inside the house. I had thought perhaps that could be the Thing house because there is an ice cave in the trailer for the Thing, which you might have seen if you went to the VIP lounge or if you went to King Kong. You can go on YouTube. Here on YouTube you can find the Thing trailer where people have taken, you know, their little phones and have actually gone and taped, videoed the trailer from the King Kong attraction in Hollywood and then posted it online where you can watch it. Sort of hard to see, but you can see there is a cave, ice cave, that features in that movie. So I thought perhaps, but the facade precludes that. It doesn't sound like the Thing at all. So that won't be located here. Most likely in one of those sound stages I mentioned earlier. But what exactly then? My guess, Soundstage 23A, but I don't know for a fact yet. The Disaster House then has that city street entranceway and very, very odd code word names. Wood Teeth. It makes you think of George Washington, doesn't it? Dwarf, although I've heard someone say that dwarf is actually not the name, but it's actually Dorf. Dorf? Dorf sounds like, well, Dorf on golf, you know, maybe a golfer of some sort. Grass also makes you think of golf courses. Some people have suggested a different kind of grass, perhaps, a hippie, a smoker of some sort. Another character is Top Hat. very strange character called named Love. Love, that's an odd name for a scare actor, isn't it? Watch. Watch? Makes you think of the caretaker, Top Hat and Watch together, but I'm sure the caretaker will not be coming back. Egg. Egg? Fried egg? Scrambled egg? Your brain on drugs? I don't know. It's very confusing. Some have speculated Top Hat, Abraham Lincoln, Woodteeth, George Washington, Grass, Bill Clinton. Maybe it's the Hall of the Dead Presidents. I don't, except Bill Clinton's not dead. I don't think so. But it's still a strange idea for this weird little house. What will it be? Actually not little, but rather large. Jaws. The Jaws queue, we have two code names for its characters. Insomniac, someone who doesn't sleep. Perhaps someone who's dead but can't rest, come back from the grave. Perhaps it's a reference, a sly reference to Stephen King's novel Insomnia. I'm always also thinking of that song from a few years ago, I Can't Get No Sleep, you know. What does it mean? We don't know. Bubble is the other name. Bubble? Is that the character from Absolutely Fabulous? Is it a bubble, a soap bubble? What would a bubble be? Now, I made a silly joke in my April Fool's gag about Lovecraft, but it might be because bubbles make me think of you know, Lovecraftian deities that take bubbly forms, like I believe Yog-Sothoth appears as bubbles. Could there be a Lovecraft house actually at the event? There's a possibility there may actually be a Lovecraft house after all, and there's a reason for that, which I'll get to later. All right, but maybe not. You know, that's speculation on my part. But those are the code names for the Jaws house. Okay, now we go to the Parade Building. In the Parade Building, where we may have one house, or we may have two houses, or possibly a two-run house, we don't know. There have been some who've speculated a lot about the Extreme House coming finally after all these years. Again, there's no evidence of that whatsoever. All we know for sure is that there are two code names. One is Prisoner, which implies some sort of a jail cell, of course. Another is Francisco. Now, we do know for a fact that at the auditions, the people auditioning for character roles were asked by the people doing the interviews if they could speak and understand the language Spanish. This suggests very strongly that a scare zone or a house may be set somewhere where Spanish is spoken. So that's a very interesting possibility. There may be a house set in Spain or Mexico or some other country or place where Spanish is spoken. Intriguing. Francisco is a code word name for a character in this house. That's a Spanish name. Francisco, incidentally, has caused some people to think about Francisco Pizarro, who invaded and conquered the Incans, maybe taking prisoners. Perhaps. Or maybe it's something else. Some have talked about the plague of Siena, thinking, of course, of plague doctors and catacombs, but I don't think they're coming back this year, by the way. I've got a very good source telling me that there will be no sequel houses to previous houses from last year, so don't expect the catacombs and Dogs of War to return in a house again this year. You might, The Thing is the closest thing to a sequel we'll see, and that's a prequel to a movie coming up. But Francisco, interestingly enough, it is the formal name which the nickname Pancho is derived from. And that leads me to think about Pancho Villa, the bandit in Mexico, and a prisoner. Maybe it's set in that time period with bandits in old Mexico. Perhaps, perhaps not. But there's a Spanish something going on somewhere, very possibly in this house, if that's what Francisco means. Others are thinking Francisco, San Francisco, prisoner Alcatraz. But that would be too much like Hellgate Prison to my thinking. Anyway, now we go on to the Sprung tents. Sprung tent number 1. This is the Sprung tent where we had catacombs last year, and previous to that, Chucky. Sprung tent number 1, we have Floating Head, we have Star, we have Gutter, and Shoes Man. very odd and weird names, and I can't imagine what they could be. We do know there is a room in this house from the permits called Rune Room. It's the only scene we know by name. But I've also heard, although it's not in the HHN Rumors database, I've also heard from another source that there were people cast as runes in that house. So rune may very well be a code name for something else. It may not be about Germanic script from Norse mythology or whatever, runes. It may be a code word for a character, and that's the room these characters will appear, in which case we have no idea what that could be and how it connects to floating heads and stars and gutters and shoes man. Shoes man? Sprung Tent 2, where Havoc was last year, we have the names that really seem to imply this may be where we have a casino house, or a house set in a gambling establishment, because we have a blackjack dealer. We have someone called Cards. In addition, we have someone called Bug-Eye, Wing, Interrogator, and Arrested Dead, which implies somebody, illegal law enforcement. Although Arrested Dead may be another red herring, because an arrested dead may be someone who was arrested and died, or it could refer to someone who has died of a heart attack, cardiac arrest. Or perhaps their death was arrested, and they're not dead but come back as some sort of whatever. We don't know. But the most intriguing name in this house is Seagull, the bird, Seagull. Now, people have made all sorts of various possibilities, but Seagull to me implies something. If it's a casino, gambling plus Seagull, I can't help but think about Bugsy Siegel, the man who founded the casinos in Las Vegas. So if this is a casino house, then Siegel to me suggests Bugsy Siegel. In fact, Bugsy, Bug-Eye, Bug-Eye, Siegel, Bugsy Siegel. It seems very intriguing to me that this may be that location of a casino house, in which case maybe Soundstage 22 won't be an icon house after all, unless there's more than one icon house, which there could be, since there may be more than one icon. Okay, so that's the code word names for the characters in the houses. Now, of the 6 scare zones, we only have code word names for 2 of the scare zones. We don't know anything about most of the scare zones, but we do know that in Hollywood, we have very colorful code word names. We have, for example, Red Girl. Then we have Gold Male. We have Blue Girl. We have Green Male, and we have Purple Male and Purple Girl. So we have all these colors associated with male and female characters in a scare zone on Hollywood. Now, red, gold, red, gold, green, blue, purple. It sounds like a rainbow, doesn't it? One thing that came to mind right away, which is rather silly, and of course I'm sure it has nothing to do with it, was Go Go Horror Rangers! An evil Power Rangers zone. No, that's not going to happen. But these are the colors of the gay flag. Is it going to be a pride parade? My joke about the vampire pride parade, led by Sparkles the vampire, aka Edward Cullen? No, that's silly too. I'm sure they would never do anything like that. But what will these rainbow-colored characters be? Maybe some sort of Mardi Gras, Zombie Gras thing again this year? I'm sure they'll do something new and different, not go back to what they did last year. And why colorful characters with these color names? Some sort of Skittles of Doom, I don't know, Taste the Rainbow of Death. I'm not certain. It's very interesting. The other scare zone that we know about a character is the one over by Simpsons, the IFB area. And there'll be a stilt walker there with a masked stilt roll. So we know there'll be someone on stilts, and what they'll be doing with a mask, we have no idea. It could be another Happy Parade type scare zone. It could be, but then not all stilt walkers were in those sorts of zones. We've had stilt walking trees, we've had stilt walking demons. So what is this masked stilt walker? It could be something quite sinister. A very tall, masked, evil thing trying to kill you of some sort. We don't know what it is. So those are the names. So we do know these names, but what the names mean we really don't know yet, except in that wild speculation I've had. Now, what do we know? I know a couple of other things, which I will now reveal. I said I know about one house, The Thing. I know about a couple other houses as well. I know that there will be a house set in the time period of second decade of the 20th century. That is the 1910s. I got this from a very reliable source, and I've run out of time again. So I'll continue with that in a fourth video. My God.